Okay guys, we're doing another video for you guys on how to repair a Bolens BL125 OEM blower. I know what's pretty much wrong with this thing already, but a few things you may want to check before you start cracking into the machine if you got a lot of bogginess in your string trimmer. We're doing a carburetor replacement job on this one because I know what it is. Usually if it's boggy, there might be 2 or 3 things wrong with it. The first thing could be compression. If you've been running like too low of an oil mixture and a high oil mixture, fuel mixture in your machine, if it's taking a higher oil mixture and you've been running lower stuff, it could have burnt out the solenoid and the piston. Could have burned out the piston and the piston housing. And one thing you guys want to always check with these machines, if you got tight compression, if it feels tight when you're pulling on it, on your blowers or your weed trimmers or your chainsaws, usually that means you don't have a compression issue or a piston issue. Now if you pull this pull starter and you're getting a lot of slack in it, then that means your unit is toast and you'll have to replace the piston. And another way to check that is if you got a compression gauge, usually around 160 to 140. When you put the compression gauge in the top of the spark plug, when you remove it and you check your compression, if it's around 160 to 140, it's usually okay. Another way you can check that is put an endoscopy camera down in there and check the piston housing. If not, you can check the piston housing with a small light and check around the edges. If it's scored up and down, that means your piston housing's toast and your pistons are done. If it's left to right, that means it's still good. But we don't have that issue with this. I think I let it sit with some bad gas in it. So, and another thing too, if you're getting a lot of bogginess, it may not be a carburetor issue, it could be a fuel line issue. Sometimes if you got an older unit like weed trimmer, chainsaw, usually by checking the lines, if they feel like they're still kind of tight and they're not like really rubbery feeling, and they don't feel like they're cracking or falling apart in the gas tank, usually it's not that, then it's the carburetor. If you have to replace these these little gas lines right here on the machine, you'll need a special tool, which is a long pair of hooked needle nose pliers, and then you have to pull the old lines out of the machine itself with the fuel filter, and then go by the same gauge fuel lines and then take them hooked, cut a nice little sharp point in those fuel lines, put them through there once you remove the old fuel lines, and then poke them through and grab them with those bent shaft needle nose pliers, pull them through and pull it all the way through the gas tank and try to jimmy the old line out with the fuel filter on it, and the return valve as well from the return fuel line. That way you could put it back on both lines and then pull the gas lines back through the machine, and then find how long the length you need for them, and then cut them to size to fit the carburetor when you need to fix that. That's another way you can fix your fuel lines. But if it's not a fuel line issue, it's the carburetor issue. Now, like I said, this is the carburetor right here, guys. And sometimes too, if you think it's the carburetor and sometimes it's getting a little boggy, there is 2 notches on top of the carburetor for adjustment, so you can tune your carburetor, which you'll have to buy a specialized spline tool for that, which is like a little screwdriver with your divot. Usually you can buy the universal kit to tune that, but it's not that problem I'm having. The issue I'm having with this is the carburetor is not working right, and it'll start up and it'll start making a noise and then shut off real quick. We're going to take off the carburetor fuel air fuel filter cover. It's kind of dirty. It's not too bad because I ain't really used it much. I just let it sit with bad gas in it for a couple years. But if you want to clean that filter, you could take that filter and some soapy dishwashing liquid, run it through there and squeeze all the gunk and stuff out of it, and then let it sit out to dry. And then when you put this back in the machine, you want to put a little bit of gas on it, soak it in gas, in a bag and then throw it back in here and throw it back on the carburetor when you're done. Now what you see here, guys, what you see here, guys, you will need either a T25 screwdriver bit or a flathead screwdriver bit. On most of the Husqvarnas and Steels and Echoes right here, you have to unscrew these 2 screws, and there's behind here is a gasket, and then on top of that is the carburetor mounted to the machine. I'm hoping that we could save the gasket and we don't have to replace it, because sometimes the gaskets do get stuck on the machine. So we're going to find a flathead screwdriver that fits this, and find a flathead screwdriver that'll fit this, and in hopes that we can take it apart. I think that one will do right there. Flathead screwdriver or a T25 bit to unscrew it. Should come off fairly easy. You just got to unscrew this one from the machine itself. Take the screws off right here. Now this will work on string trimmers as well. If you got a string trimmer that has a clogged carburetor, this replacing the carburetor or taking it down to a shop and getting it rebuilt and cleaned could also work too. And get this other screw out of here. Now mind you, you want to hold the carburetor in place while you're unscrewing it so it don't fall on the ground and get dirty. Let's see here. Okay, we got that one out, and we'll hold on to it and gently pull it off here and hope that we can save the gasket on here if we can. It's not totally stuck on there. Gets the choke right here, and we have the screw right here. We'll just put this off to the side here. Take off the old carburetor in hopes we can get the gasket off of this without ripping it. I think it's stuck. We're gonna need a new gasket. Well, the return valve came off, but this one didn't. So we're gonna have to try to coax this one off. Okay, oh, we got that carburetor off, guys. Now, a tip that you could possibly save this is take a razor blade and maybe trying to scooch this gasket off if you can, but it has to be returned like this back over here when you get a new gasket, and that might be another video down the road to return the new carburetor I got right here. You guys want to know the part number for this on the carburetor? Part that you need for this is 753069190, and it's a carb dual manufacturing carb from, I think it might be Walbro, I'm not sure. Let's see, doesn't say what company makes it. It's probably one of those cheap Chinese ones. Yeah, it could be a cheap Chinese one or a OEM model, but we'll put that on and replace it. Hopefully we didn't screw up the darn fuel line. So when you put it back on, you want to put it on like, you know, this, and you want these you know, these tuners up like this, and then you have to put the return line right here, and your main fuel line goes on the second one like that when you return the old one. But we'll get back to you, see if I could remove this gasket with a razor blade of some sort. If I can't, I'm gonna have to wait until I get a new one in the mail, and if that's the case, it'll be a couple days from now. I kind of did chew it up a little bit, but we might be able to reuse the old gasket just for the video, like this. On the other side, well, we'll just put it on the main side here. Maybe we can reuse this gasket. You want to put the gasket facing on the side where the throttle is, in front of the throttle here, and the pump, the primer ball, and you can put on the small choke cover and all this other stuff here on it. Hopefully this works. If it does, I do got a if it does work, that'll be fine. If it don't work, that's fine too. But I'd always recommend you to get a new gasket, especially after removing old carburetors. This may not work, but if it does, we'll have it fixed. But it's just a temporary fix until I get my gasket in the mail. And once you do that, you want to return the carburetor to your machine right here. You want to, right here's the throttle cable right here. I don't know if you can see it. You want to kind of like tilt it like this to get the throttle cable back in there, and put the carburetor itself on the engine itself. And what I like to do is I like to hand tighten these screws. Just be careful though that you could strip the threads on this blower or string trimmer when you're returning the screws to the machine. And of course that was my fault. I didn't have them lined up just right. And okay, just hand tighten them. Once you get them hand tight, you can take your flathead screwdriver and start tightening them up. Righty tighty, lefty loosey kind of deal. Or you can use the T25 star head for this to unhook it and hook it back in there. You can buy those tools at like Harbor Freight or Lowe's. You can get the T25 screwdriver bit. I forgot to return the fuel lines, the main fuel line to the return line, and that was a big boo-boo. But we'll get back to starting it up again and priming it up. Alright guys, we got the fuel here, and we're going to gas her up here and prime her and try to see if we'll get her going started. Now, gasket don't work on here. We're going to have to replace the gasket, but put some fuel in it. Putting some fuel in here, guys. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of fuel in here. I ain't trying to get too much fuel in here. And these new spill-proof freaking things kind of stink, so I'm not really, I don't like these new gas cans. Oh man. Okay, I guess it's full enough. Of course we got gas everywhere, guys. Dang gummit. Okay. But you know, we'll start it up. You want to prime it 10 times, as it says on the back here. Put it all the way on start. Pull it a few times. Then get the motor to kick over. Put it on. Warm up. Let it warm up for a while, and then we'll try to use it. Like I said, it's a new carburetor. I may have to adjust the carburetor to get it to work, but I don't have an adjustment tool, so there's that. Let it warm up a little bit, and we'll go try it out. Okay, guys, I had to take a Dremel because I didn't have the right spline for it, so I had to cut like little grooves in the carburetor itself to make like a flathead screwdriver adjustment for the carburetor, because I don't have the right spline for it. So I think we got it to where we want it. With the carburetor adjustment, that's why I always said that when you replace the carburetor in something, you may have to adjust it from the idle screw to the high screw. On some string trimmers, there might be 3 adjustment screws, but this only has 2. Adjust it a little bit more. Once we get it adjusted to where we want it, from idle to high, because right here we have to adjust this too, either be lower, or this also is an idle adjustment screw too. We'll have to adjust that from low to high so it doesn't go over the throttle itself. When I get this done, I'll get back at you. Alright guys, I think I got it adjusted just right. Well, maybe not adjusted quite right. It's a little high, a little low. Carburetor adjustment on it, so I've had to make it go high to low. But I got it about idling the way I want it to idle, and I kind of got it to where on the high, when I full throttle it and it idles kind of in between. It wasn't even, you couldn't even pull the throttle on this thing without it, you know, bogging down. So now I think I've got it adjusted to where I want it, and we're going to start it up. You have to prime it 10 times. And I use that, I use this little cutoff wheel with this like little Dremel to cut 2 little flathead notches in there so I could adjust this. But hindsight being 2020, make sure you guys go get a whole universal set of spline tools for this. Okay, but start it up. Now put it on run. Now you guys can hear. Perfect. Now let's try her out. Okay, I ran out of gas for the last test. I think we got it squared away with the blower here. We're going to try it out again. Guys, I think I got it. We got it dialed in, baby. Woo! We got it dialed in. got the carburetor adjusted, the carburetor fixed, and it works.